Yesterday I had a user who asked me if I intended on doing a video about the State of the Union last night, and I basically said to them that I was on the fence because I have flashbacks of when I did my reaction to it last year. And aside from not being content with the way I did it, because I'd much rather go point by point and break down why all of it was, my position or rebuttal to each different policy proposal. I remember the reaction by the Trump fools, the ones that go around and look for material to get pissed and upset about, and the outrage that they displayed. And one of them actually saying that I should have been with the Democrats on their table or some kind of nonsense. But I remember distinctively that when I was sitting here kind of reading the comments and their assumption that the person who's criticizing them must be some rabid supporter of the Democratic Party, it made me realize that I'm not there are not enough people who have detached themselves from the umbilical cord of blindly following one party or the other because they think one is worse than the other, to realize that you can have genuine critiques of a politician without being a member of the opposing side. Um, so, for example, if I mentioned I support him when he wanted to do peace with North Korea, wanted to pull out of Syria, Afghanistan, whatever, those are the kinds of things that someone who's intellectually interested in trying to learn about this stuff or my position will find themselves trying to figure out, because they're going to do the research before writing some nonsense about me being a partisan hack. But because people who watch one video of someone they just happen to stumble across don't do the research or look into these things themselves, they're likely to pop off at the mouth, assume one thing about you, and then just keep on going. And unfortunately, there's not enough in my view, people who I genuinely believe would see my reaction to it and see something that would either change their mind or, be objective enough to say, yeah, all of these things are horrible, screw this person, or all of these things are good, I really like this, particular individual. And so when you have this kind of hyper partisan, intellectually lazy set of individuals who have access to the same internet as myself, it makes me a lot less willing to try and interact with them. This is why I don't post very many comments on very many videos on YouTube. This is, it all goes together. But at the same time, as I was thinking about, the flack I would get for, going around and mentioning this as I did last year, I also reflected on the, times in which I've clashed with, I guess, what you could call Democrats or their supporters or whoever the hell. And, they get pissed over the same thing. They don't want to believe that the Speaker of the House is a fossilized, wretched hag that has done nothing for the party except hurt it by her continued narcissistic wanting of power, as judged by her at one point 29% approval rating. But those are the kind of things they don't want to hear. And I mention those in tandem because it's meant to solidify my belief as well as my assertion that I am not part of either party. I think they're both crappy. But if members of them continue to smear people who levy objective critiques toward party leaders as being a member of the opposing side, they're all doing it so they can rest comfortably in their little bubble of believing that everything is great and wonderful. It's emblematic of a couple of things, and one of those is that we have a media that is very lazy. We have a public that I often give credit for, their higher productivity in spite of lower wages. But I just can't bring myself to believe enough of them are pissed off about this stuff or open minded about the state of affairs of the U.S. to hear what I have to say and, not blindly tune it out so they can keep worshiping the orange man or the fossilized hag or the fool right behind Trump on the left hand side. So it's still this thing of will I or won't I? And I think maybe what's more interesting or would be more productive would be to just kind of pick a policy and then sort of talk about that in a separate stream. But as it stands, I don't see a point in addressing it. It was a retread of everything that was said last year. If you want a quick, short opinion of it, but I still don't think people who, let's say, have become turned off to him in the last, which I think is a very small number. I basically, anyone who didn't like you before didn't like you after the speech, and people who liked you before liked you after the speech. It just seems as if there's nothing that can be done here. It's just this never-ending, divided circle of people who don't want to look at anything objectively in favor of putting whoever they think is great in some position where they, in their mind, they can't be criticized for anything. So I'll just leave it as it is. I might do that stream I said at some point tomorrow or the day after that, but it's sad because the people are the reason that things are the way that they are. These politicians can't get in the office without your votes. And I just wish that if we have individuals being allotted the responsibility to elect people to positions of power, they would at least try to objectively look at things. But this two-party system has corrupted their minds and allowed them to get away with being lazy and not knowing much about the people that they're worshiping and supporting. So it sucks.